Back, guys, and this is the second hour, which means segment 5 to Angela, or 4, or wait, let's make it 1.
One. Uno.
That'll be much more successful for all of us. Okay, here we go.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo!
My compliments, little lady.
Commercial! Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Welcome back as we launch into the second hour of BaaD Radio. I'm going to run through all the regular info for those of you who have just joined us. I'm Angela Smarito, your host, and our producer is Melissa Fox over in the studio. And then we have Melissa Jacob here.
Hello, hello.
And Melissa's business is Striking Brand. Striking Brand has done all of BaaD Radio's videos since we started doing videos. So you can find them all on baadradio.com. And then you can also find all of Melissa's work on strikingbrand.com. So she's a photographer as well as a videographer. All right, so we're back now, and we are here with just John with Forge IT Consulting. And I called John earlier in this week because I wanted to talk to him about some ideas that I wanted to talk about today, just to make sure that he was okay with it. And so what we're going to talk about today is some AI stuff.
Yes.
So I always
I'm
get
excited.
it wrong, but it's like Chat GPT is GBT. GPT.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big craze right now.
Right.
Okay, and so let's just start talking about it. Like my daughter Anna introduced me to it at first, like 2 weeks ago, and I was blown away.
So what is it first?
So first of all, it is a large language model, an LLM. So this is a particular type of AI that is based off of giving it just a ton of text and being able to decipher things and talk about things based off of that text that it has already ingested. It's not truly thinking for itself so much as it is being able to take that text and be able to manipulate it and understand it well enough to converse with it.
Right.
But obviously it's not perfect and it can get things wrong.
Yeah.
And even when it is wrong, it will be confidently wrong.
Yeah. No, because I figured it out. I figured out how it doesn't understand things. And for me, I was like, 'cause I was trying to write commercial copy,
Right.
and it was for a 501c3 through, for a nonprofit, and I gave it keywords, and if it was a business, what it spit out for a 30-second commercial would make sense, but it didn't make sense for a nonprofit. So I had to feed it a couple more things, and at one point I was just like, it was for the Restoration Association of Florida, so I can say, I'm like, well, what is the Restoration Association? And it told me exactly what it was.
Right.
And then I was like, okay, so write a 30-second commercial for, membership, or, you know what I mean? And
I asked it to create an intro for BaaD Radio, a funny one. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do an intro for you, ChatGPT style. Welcome to BaaD Radio, the station that's so bad it's good. If you're looking for top quality radio programming, you've come to the wrong place. But if you're in the mood for some laughs, some groans, and some head-scratching moments, then you're in luck. Join us as we take you on a wild, unpredictable ride through the wacky world of BaaD Radio. From cheesy jokes to bizarre music, we've got it all. So sit back, relax, and get ready to have some fun, or at least laughs at our expense. This ChatGPT's BaaD Radio intro.
And you know what? There might be some other radio out there that's BaaD Radio, that's not BAAD, that's not business at a distance. And he probably took from that because the large language model for ChatGPT ended, I believe it was late 2019.
I think it said 2021.
It depends on which version
Right.
we're talking about. I might be thinking of ChatGPT 3. But the point is that it's only as good as the data that it's fed.
Yeah.
And if the data that it's fed doesn't include whatever it is that you want to talk about, well, it's going to try to pull something else that might sound similar and just be wrong.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that it does make assumptions, which I thought was interesting, because I'll ask it a question that says, well, I don't know that, but this, and this, which again, I thought was interesting because it was relative, whatever it was.
Right. It'll try to find something that is still, on subject, even if it's not exactly what you need.
Right.
And that's the nice thing about using it as kind of a search engine sort of a thing. Now that Microsoft is bringing that into its Bing, the new Bing is based off of ChatGPT 4 and Microsoft's own search, whereas regular ChatGPT if you're just using like a free version or something, you're only using that language model based off of what it was already trained on. It has no ability to go out to the internet. Microsoft said, okay, we're going to take that. We're going to pair it with a search engine.
Oh, God.
And it can go get any data that's new and relevant and live
Right.
off of the internet. And
But is it going to set up
it's pretty
like
wild what it
a
can
search
do.
engine on? So I'll
It
get
is exactly that. I mean, you can interact with it like a chat bot, like you do with ChatGPT, or you can just type it in regular search style. But it's there, and it can. It's crazy what it can do over and above what ChatGPT can do because it has
I'm having a hard
internet
time
access.
just keeping up with what ChatGPT can do because it's so, you know what I mean? I'm like, you have to process, okay, now that you have all this information so readily available to you, what are you going to do with it? So people ask themselves questions. How am I going to make money doing it? How can we make it dirty? You know, that's always got to be there. How do we sexualize this thing that's come out there? So money, make it dirty, and then how is it going to help me in my day-to-day life or make money? And like so those are the things. So I mean, I think about like how it's going to help me make money. And I'm assuming that's how most, well, you know what? I'm not going to assume anything. That's for me. I'm like,
I would assume that most people are going to end up using it for doing tasks that can be done well by it quickly and easily rather than having to do it whatever way they were doing it before.
yeah.
So
Time saving.
exactly.
Yeah. Then that's where I've used it for.
Like you did. You asked it for writing copy for some kind.
Yeah,
You
no,
were trying to
yeah.
do something similar. It's really good at that. And a lot of that is going to continue. But as you found out while you were trying to get it to write something for you, it doesn't always get it the right way. And so you have to keep putting stuff in there. You need to know a lot about whatever it is you're asking for it to give to you in order to be able to judge whether or not what it gave to you is appropriate and good for you.
Right.
So it doesn't replace you. It enhances how quickly you can produce something.
Yeah. So what I have to do is I have to take what it gives me, and it's been great for like idea starters. And it's actually quite. I mean, some of the stuff is really, really good. Some of them, like that's not even close. But it's cool to have that
Right.
in front of me. I like
Really good for brainstorming.
Yeah. It's hard to, like I said, it's hard for me to get my head around like all of the things that it can be used for. One of the things that we talked about earlier was writing term papers and things like that. So, what's the word? How are they going to keep kids from
I don't think
cheating?
they are. I think that's going to go away. I think writing term papers is just not going to be a thing anymore. I get the feeling that eventually
I did not see that one coming.
colleges, high schools, et cetera, where, classes where a term paper was usually a giant chunk of your
Right.
grade is going to go away. And they're going to have to find a different way to
The testing
to
that
have
you
it.
can, like maybe the testing that you have to just do and write.
It's
going
gonna
to
be more
It has to
testing.
be.
Well,
Right.
that and I believe a lot of the teachers are asking for AI to be created to find out if AI was used to create the paper.
That's what I heard.
right.
I think,
But
yeah.
I don't think that's going to work.
Well,
Key formations, like you said about how when she just went into ChatGPT and put in BaaD Radio, again, they'll be able to find the algorithm to set up to look for keywords or key phrasings that were probably created. But I don't know. You're the man.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that it's anytime you're dealing with something like that, you're having to try to stay one step ahead of the people that are trying to get around whatever it is that's trying to catch you.
Right.
And the people that are trying to get around it are typically going to be farther ahead than the people that are trying to defend. So I just don't think it's going to be a thing.
Actually, what you said makes sense as far as they're probably going to have to alter the education system to another way to make sure that the students have a comprehensive understanding of what's going on besides writing it on a paper.
Exactly. I think it's going to be something along the lines of doing the paper in class, maybe doing it handwritten, God forbid, but maybe.
You'll never be able to read it.
I certainly took a lot of tests in college that way myself. I mean, like when I was taking history exams, there was always a large writing component, and it was always on paper. It was never on your computer.
Me too. Oh, for sure.
And so I imagine that might come back. I could imagine being required to do those kinds of things on computers that have no access
Right,
to
just-
ChatGPT,
yeah.
that's not doesn't belong to you.
No
It's some
internet.
kind of terminal that
Yeah.
allows you to take the test just like you would take, some other tests nowadays. But they could also go with having what you need to be able to write about, like a prompt or something that you need to be able to read and comprehend and then write about it, rather than
Hold that thought, because we're going to get right back to that. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Is that quick enough?
Yes, thank you very much. He was really going up against me.
I want to. There's so much stuff to talk about with
There
this.
is.
I don't
It's
even.
huge.
How do we? I mean, where do we? How can we narrow? So yeah.
How do we differentiate,
Well, and
segment
then
it
I'm
out?
like, oh, yeah. So it's like my mind just wants to go like all over the place. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about on this next segment. So let's help me out. Like, should we talk
We
about?
can talk about the fact that it hallucinates, how it gets things wrong. We can talk about the different. Well, we already talked about general versus specific information, needing to put in specific detailed prompts and needing to know about.
Well, do you
the
mind if I
information.
ask you, in the world of IT, how do you see this affecting your industry?
It's yeah. I can talk about that.
Okay, cool.
It won't be a lot, but it'll be some.
Well, yeah, hang on. Hold that thought.
Sure.
We're ready.
Okay. You notice I was just sitting here.
I can't really
Oh,
see
we
you.
can talk about security risks.
That's a good thing.
related to
Oh, okay,
it.
that's a great.
Hey, quick
Absolutely.
question. Maybe you've heard that they want us to be plugging into the EVs and going to electric vehicles by like a certain amount of time.
Right.
When I plug my phone into my car, it often asks me if I want to go on a network, which basically usurps my my information. So I'm wondering if they're trying to get the AI and the EV together so they can just follow us anywhere, even without the GPS.
Oh my
Well, I
God.
mean, GM is starting to go that direction to an extent. You're not going to be able to use, what is it called? Apple Play or Android Auto. Is it Apple Play? I forget the. You're not going to be able to plug your phone in and use your phone essentially as your infotainment center in GM models soon. They're coming up with their own Google platform separately.
Also heard that in the airports, if you use those charging stations that are out, it's a two-way.
What?
I've been wanting to bring your own. We just had an article about it that came out, but it basically said that you need to bring your own charging port or charger and cord instead of using any of those all-access bolt charging things. I see he's like going,
I don't know about that one.
okay, that just was a report literally
Hey.
we spent some time on.
We're doing fact checks right now. That's what's
Hey,
happening.
fine by me. All right, if you're on the social media watching us, fact check that for us and get back. Okay,
let us
thank you
know.
very much. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back to BaaD Radio. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Rachel Roach Realty, a Coldwell Banker Realtor. With a sea of realtors out there, choose one that thinks of you first and not their commission. 407-252-4566. During the break, I had to kind of like bring everything in because there's so many different directions that we could talk about with this AI. But really, what I want to talk about with John is how this is going to affect the world of IT, because I think that businesses are going to be based off of this now, right?
Well, certainly there are going to be businesses that use it as its primary function. There's already businesses out there that are saying, okay, let us use ChatGPT to do this function inside of your business better by just creating an interface in between ChatGPT and some other type of program. Microsoft is already adding its own versions of ChatGPT because they're this giant investor in OpenAI. They have access to it. They've added AI functions to Microsoft Office 365 already. It can, for instance, do it'll look at an Excel spreadsheet for you that's got a whole bunch of data in it or a database of some sort. And it'll be able to give you information based off like reports. It will be able to build reports on the fly based off of that information.
Okay, so can you upload stuff to it? I haven't even. The only thing I've done so far is just ask it questions or have it do stuff for me. But is
for
there
a free account like what you're talking about, that's all you can do.
Right.
But like I said, Microsoft has added this functionality to Office 365 so that if you pay an extra subscription to them, it will have the ability to, inside of their programs, be able to take the data that's there and be able to give you information back about that data, be able to crunch the data for you without you having to do the number crunching yourself.
okay, so this is in theory. At some point, do you think I'll be able to say, okay, my weekly food budget is $350? I can say this is where I'm going to be shopping, if it's Publix or whatever, and I would like you to produce for me a schedule of 5 meals per week.
Yes.
For this budget, and
You could already do that probably,
Yes.
especially with
Yeah.
especially with Microsoft's new Bing that can get that more live data for you. I bet you could. You just have to feed it a
I
lot
wonder
of
if I
the
can say, can we
information
keep
yourself.
it under X amount of calories?
You probably could.
probably could.
Seriously.
Absolutely.
Wow, I have a spreadsheet. I do that. It's called Smeritos Dinners,
Yeah.
where I write it all in
Yeah.
on my spreadsheet.
No, it could do it probably in like 1 minute. Type all your stuff in
I
there.
mean, it may or may not spit out exactly what you want, but it'll certainly spit out something.
It'll get you real close.
That's fantastic. Can somebody show me how to do that?
tell it the
it's
things.
literally just like
Yeah,
what you said.
right.
You go to the new Bing, you tell it the things that you want, and then it'll try. Now it's
I'm
again,
allergic to XYZ.
Right.
It could absolutely get it wrong.
Right.
You might have to do it several times. You might have to give it, this long prompt that it gives you all this
Very
information that
specific.
you want, and then it gives you a response. And then you'll look at the response and be able to tell, okay, is this going to work for me or is this not going to work? If
Right.
it doesn't work, then you have to feed it more information.
Right.
That iteration is really key when you're dealing with these.
Right. Well, I
large language
noticed that
models.
you can, like I said, it says repurpose or regenerate. You know, but you can add to it. You don't have to type the whole original thing in again.
No, it
which I thought-
remembers what you've taught it. But that brings up a whole nother problem is that if you're using one of these LLMs that's, freely available on the internet in some kind like ChatGPT or the new Bing, it will keep that data. Whatever it is that you fed it, it keeps it and adds it to its
Database or whatever.
Its
Yeah.
database. So if you've got, private data for your company, yourself, whatever that you don't want other people knowing about, you can't tell
What
it
about
to these
that
things.
paid service thing? Is that keep it to
yeah.
everything
It
public
depends.
as well?
It depends on the paid service and
Do you
what it is.
do you have a paid service?
I do not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
I was wondering how much it
Absolutely
costs.
not. Why?
Not
why?
yet.
Why do you say absolutely not?
Because I'm not ready to spend money on something that isn't tailored enough to me to make sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Because until it's something that I can say, okay, I can use this, it'll help me do this, and it'll save me this amount of money, and so therefore it makes sense to pay X, Y,
Right.
X, Y, or Z amount of money. It doesn't make sense to me to go out and buy it just
Right.
to play with it, because I can play with it for free.
Got it.
Because I don't have enough information that I would want to use with it that isn't just publicly available. The things that I usually use it for are making that brainstorming copy or
Right.
writing an email the right way or creating a proposal or something like that are the ways that I can think of. And then specific to me, scripting things. So
Yeah.
if I need to do something and I want it to run on a script automatically without me having to do it, well, I'm not a king of scripting. I know it a little bit, but
Right.
this is a king of scripting, and it can tell you exactly how to code something really well, and it'll spit it out for me for free.
Yeah, but
I don't need to pay for that.
right. But I mean, this leads me to the whole that one of your big things is like cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's gonna be able. People are gonna be able to get like break into systems left and right.
Well, I mean, to an extent, maybe. I mean, it certainly gives people that have the interest more tools on how to get more data, more tools more quickly, certainly. But more likely, it's going to be times like what happened with Samsung recently.
I have a Samsung. What happened?
Samsung lost a whole bunch of data in a way that, it basically people inside of Samsung were using ChatGPT. They put in proprietary information into ChatGPT to get, whatever it was they were asking for. It kept that data. Somebody else outside of Samsung asked ChatGPT for something. That data was relevant and it spit it back out.
Oh wow!
And so data was leaked when no one tried to.
Right.
But it happened anyway because that
It's
data
open.
is not siloed. Eventually, it's going to have to go in a different direction so that data can be siloed.
Right.
An interesting bit I heard on the WAN show with Luna.
I want to hear more about this.
This company, Linus Media Group, has a show that they do every Friday.
You said it's a podcast, right?
It's a show. It's a podcast. They do it live.
But I mean, is it on YouTube? I mean, can you watch it?
You can watch it on YouTube and Twitch on their own streaming platform called Floatplane. And then you can also get it as a podcast later or watch it on YouTube later as something that's been recorded.
Right.
But they just do tech news and it's great. And it's one of the guys on it, Luke, is super into AI. And so every time they get together for one of these shows, he spends a significant amount of time talking about it because it just changes all the time.
I know.
He's got new stuff to talk about every week and some crazy thing happened and it's wild. But
it's overwhelming. I find it overwhelming. Like I have a hard time processing it, to be quite honest.
You're talking about AI in general?
Yeah. Just like the possibilities are, it's like, that's why I have a hard time figuring out because inherently people are going to want to do like bad things with it.
Yes.
Of course.
And I've already heard some horrible, scary stories of like some of the stuff. And so part of me wants to shy away from it and just be like, and then I'm like, okay, how are they gonna make money? So they got to make money, right? So,
right. So like for Microsoft, they're making money by giving you ads in some way, shape or form while you're using it. So they'll like link out to something that's related. ChatGPT, they're doing it for free, but only a little bit. If you want to actually have access to ChatGPT as much as you want, you have to pay for it.
Pay for a subscription.
But yeah, what Luke was saying on the show recently was that his theory is that these LLMs are going to get to the point where they're going to be so useful and so indispensable for big companies that they're going to bring them back in house. That the days of having a large, data center internal to your company so that your data stays inside your company is going to come back.
That. Like all I see is like, I think of the word firewall, even though I know that's not the right thing, but a way that you're part of this bigger network, but you're part secure. Like you have your own little room in this big universe.
Yeah, the servers and whatnot are going to come back local probably so that they can keep their LLM able to access all of their data. All of their employees can use it, and it doesn't get leaked anywhere.
But would it still have access to outside information?
It could still go.
It could bring information in, but just can't push it back out.
Exactly, because no one else would have access to it.
Right.
Except inside the company.
Yeah, well, we're going to keep on with this conversation when we get back from the break, so stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. If you'd like more information, just go to BaaDradio.com. We'll be right back. Gotta fix that.
That was a really good timed exit.
I thought so.
With the music you did.
Thanks. Are you complimenting me on my job? This is what I do for you, Mommy.
I noticed stuff like that.
Welcome back.
Good. I'm glad you do. Thank you. You pay for stuff like that. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I could put another hourly person in here, but potluck.
So I'm working with Tom and Dan right now for another client.
Yeah.
And he's like, how important is it to stick exactly to the script, or can we make our own? It's totally fine either way. I just want to make sure I said not important at all. Not important
Have
at
at
all.
it. Yep.
Exception. And he goes, okay, we stuck to the script pretty much.
Oh, dear.
I'm like, why'd you ask me then?
Yeah. Well, they just want to get permission so they can not worry about whether they got permission,
Yeah.
Right,
so they can riff if it comes to
right.
it.
Segment 3. Okay. Segment 3 is coming up now. Stand by, please.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back to BaaD Radio. This portion of the show is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. All right, so before break, we were talking about AI, and we're going to continue talking about AI because we could probably talk about it forever. And I was saying that it's a little hard for me to get my head around all of the applications that it can be used for. Do you feel that people are going to become so dependent on it that if it we had like a major crash, then businesses are going to just go to a standstill.
I don't know about businesses to a standstill, but a lot of stuff might not work very well anymore. One of the things that Luke and Linus were thinking was going to happen with these types of AI is that it can already take bullet points and turn it into a business class type of email where it's properly formatted and full sentences and whatnot. It's going to get to the point where no one writes those anymore. They're just going to do the bullets. The AI will automatically create the email and send it out. The other side's going to read it, condense it back into bullet points. The person's going to read the bullet points and then respond with bullet points. And it's back to the AI. So only AIs are going to talk to each other directly in real sentences.
Right.
So that could be a thing going forward where writing real sentences is just not going to be a thing anymore. And
so we're not going to be using our brains as much. This is sounding great.
Have you guys ever seen that
happen.
kid show WALL-E?
Yeah. Kid show? You're talking about the movie?
The movie WALL-E?
Yeah, with the robot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Have you ever seen it?
I'm not sure.
Have you, Melissa Fox, ever seen WALL-E?
You'd have to give
Of
more
course I
description.
have.
It's Pixar, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, WALL-E. Okay.
WALL-E.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where
Love that movie.
at some point,
Very
humans are no longer able to function.
I know. I think about that all the time.
That's
terrifying.
That's the direction it feels that we're
Yes.
going. And for me, and I consider myself, I'm Gen X. I know
Right.
you're a millennial though, right? You guys are both millennials, right?
I'm borderline. 82 is right there.
I'm straight up born 1973, and this stuff scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, you're talking about the ways that it helps you with making money and things like that. But I'm like, the whole thing just terrifies me between Chat GPT and then you see all these avatar things that people just feed their images and then they're just making these images and
Oh, you're talking about AI generated art?
generated
that's
art
a
and then
whole nother
the
problem.
deep fakes. It's it's a whole, you can create a whole nother world that looks real just based off whatever you want it to do and say. It freaks me out.
My son has the headset. It's not even the Oculus. It's 5 steps above the Oculus now, where it's he's got the monitors on all part of his body, and he was dancing and somebody turned it into a full avatar and I was like, that's really cool, but it's also really, bizarre. But yeah, they can just live in their own little worlds that they've created that's perfect for them.
It really,
but it's not real.
Scares me from a perspective of how do you know what's real anymore?
Right. That's one thing I was going to ask you.
Make my head hurt.
Is that a thing that your industry would be focused on being able to determine?
I imagine that will absolutely be a thing in the security world where being able to determine whether or not something that's sent to you, some kind of media that's sent to you is real. It's already a thing. There are certainly companies that will take looks at deep fakes and determine that, it is a deep fake.
What does deep fake mean?
So it's essentially a way to create a video or audio that sounds and looks like the real
I've seen
thing,
the Tom Cruise
but it
ones.
isn't.
It's crazy.
There's a ton of them, and it's scary when it comes political and stuff like that. It's
Exactly.
I'm not going to get so much into politics, but there was so much with real people saying certain things and how it dissuaded so much of a nation. And then if you think about, you can just make things fake. And people are going to change their whole mind off of something that's not even real because they can't tell the difference. It's insane.
The people are going to have to learn to be more skeptical.
Yeah, but that's a whole generational thing.
It is.
There's gonna be a cutoff where it's anyone older than this, you pretty much need to have a teenager to be able to tell you.
Honestly, Angela, Gen Xers and above, I feel are at that level where you grew up thinking that a photo was real.
That's what it was.
Period.
Right.
And that if it was written, it was probably true.
Yep.
If you saw it in a photo, photos don't lie.
It is very hard for us, yes.
So not true anymore. And so your age and older are in this situation where you can be more easily manipulated as a result. It scares the heck out of me. And I happen to have a family member that's close to me that is really gullible when it comes to these kinds of things, even before deepfakes and whatnot. And I shudder to think what people like him might believe just
Right.
because they see it someplace and think it's a reputable source, and
Right.
even if it isn't.
Well, I meant it's like the people that before. It's like, okay, I work for so and so. There's something wrong with your computer, and then they get on their computer and they give them the password,
yeah.
and next thing you know,
Still there.
bam, gone.
I mean, it's still a thing all the time.
Well, even people who do know that it's not real, like I'm sure you probably have heard that story of somebody, I think he's a Belgian man that committed suicide. He was talking to an AI, and the AI pretty much convinced him. He was like 30 years old, so he wasn't that old. He had kids, he was married, and was talking to this AI chatbot essentially. And at first it was giving him he was asking for ways and stuff like that, and gave him self-help lines, but then started talking him into, and I'm sure he knows that this is an AI thing. So it's it just gets, I'm sorry, I'm taking this really dark.
No,
Yeah,
really
it is
dark,
dark.
but
It
like
can
with
be.
just how everything with social media, and I feel like in general, people mental health wise kind of is not the greatest right now. So you pair that with this AI stuff. So even if you do know it's not real,
I just wonder, having young kids right now,
Yes.
I'm wondering, okay, are they going to grow up just not trusting anything?
I know.
Or is it going to go some sort of weird happy medium? Or are they going to go the other direction that older people already are susceptible? They just believe everything.
I don't know. I have a
I don't
15-year-old.
know.
I just talked to her about actually this story that I was just talking about. And she was like, yeah, Mom, I'm going to grow up with AI around me. It's already a part of the thing. And I actually asked ChatGPT, what are some concerns regarding young adults and teens using AI? And some of the things they were talking about were privacy, because it collects all your large amounts of data,
Exactly.
addiction, if you're so used to using it all the time, misinformation, which is what we're talking about, cyberbullying, because, in-person bullying isn't bad enough. So we have that, and social isolation, because you're, especially young people are dependent on AI services, or could be, stop interacting with people in the real world. So it's I mean, it's amazing, the technology and what it can do, but none of it is really exciting to me, because I'm this the good part of it for me is so small. Your brain can already do these things. It just is time, and it makes you smarter to be creating full sentences and things. These are good things for us to be doing, so I don't know that the time saving aspect of it is worth the swap of all of the negative.
And
It's insane.
Who put the information in there in the first place?
What do you mean? What do you mean by puts the information in it?
When it launched, it had a whole bunch of information.
Oh, okay. The company that built it.
Yeah.
And do they put their ideas and their opinions and
Absolutely. I mean, that's been a problem with AI since before LLMs. I mean, when you create algorithms, say, Google search or a YouTube algorithm, those are all built from a perspective of whoever it is that programmed it in the first place. So they can
Because you see,
absolutely
naive
get it
me,
wrong.
I'm sitting there going, oh, it's just information. It's more than just information. It's somebody's.
It's slanted.
There is a slant
But
on
you're
what information is handed back to you. Even if all the information is true, there's a slant on what information is provided.
Wow.
But this other version that's connected to Microsoft and being able to get the internet, so now that they're able to infinitely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what that can be scary
Right.
about it.
Oh, all right. Well, you know what? We're going to lighten up the mood when we get back. Sorry, guys. We're going to talk about the good parts of AI, so stay tuned.
Wow, that was heavy stuff. Yeah, we need to lighten it up. Got a final segment coming up for you here on News Radio WFLA. You're listening to BaaD Radio.
It's crazy.
Yeah, what it comes down to, though, is like what you were saying about, I don't know if the good outweighs the bad. Problem is that it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah,
And
right.
people have been saying that about every, progression in technology.
Yeah, but what's even relative, even closely related to this, that
Atomic
technology
energy.
like this? I mean, yeah. But that's still bad. We just happen
Exactly.
to have not demolished ourselves yet.
Right, but the point is that we've suffered through worse.
Yeah, but those
But-
that's only attainable or accessible to a very small whereas ChatGPT is to the entire if you have internet.
Yeah.
which there are places where they don't even,
It's
they
a
live in
very
a
good
shack,
point.
but they have the internet, you know, everybody. It's crazy.
Let me tell you something. We try to get on a Chat GPT, and I pay $20 a month for that, and they keep going. Try again later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's too popular.
it's too popular for free, and for those of us who've been paying for it for a few weeks, we're kind of pissed off when you go to use it and you can't get in. So they have some problem solving to do.
Yeah. How much
Yeah.
do you pay? It's like $20 a month or something?
$20 a month.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
And they'll boom that up once they start going. Right now, it's probably a introductory thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
But
I have
again,
no doubt.
you should get around that if you're paying already and not using it as a free platform. I think we should have automatic entry, and they dropping the ball. All those kids out there cheating for free.
Yeah, the question is whether or not other companies like Google and Microsoft are going to be able to figure out a way to monetize it in a way that isn't a subscription. Because as soon as they can do it that way, everyone's going to be using it all
Yeah,
the time.
and we're
Because
never gonna have
Microsoft,
it.
is already trying to do it with their Bing,
Yep.
new Bing, but it's a question of whether or not that actually makes
Well,
money
I
or
mean,
not.
what it will boil down to is what the advertising opportunities are.
Right.
And
Exactly.
then that's what it really, like I said, is it banners on the site? You know what I mean? It really all depends on where they're able to sell sponsors.
What if they
and-
take it to another angle and then start just focusing on individual businesses, like he was saying? Send it to a business model. I'll sell you and create one for your company, your specifics.
That will absolutely
That
be
was
a
going to
thing.
happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, last segment of the show, kids. Let's have fun like we promised.
I'll
Stand
keep
by.
my mouth shut.
No, you're good. It's interesting.
Debbie
though.
Downer. All right, let's perk things up, kids.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And I want to give out a huge thank you to so many more of our sponsors, including Bolts Legal. Fear no storm with boltslegal.com. 33 Tanning Spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood, and Andrews Law, PA. You can visit her at andrewslawpa.com. And Crazy Muscle Nutrition in Longwood. I called Zach earlier in the week, and I said, "Are you available on 420 to do a show?"
Was he like, yes, immediately?
He's like, "It's my favorite day of the year."
Nice.
I knew he would. I was like, all right. So we talked about AI pretty much for this whole hour, and we could talk about it for probably days more. But what I really want to talk about right now is Forge IT Consulting and how AI is going to play a part in that. But then also, what are some of the other things that are going on with your business right now? What are some of the most common things that you're seeing? Same old, or have you seen new stuff coming up?
I would say it's really comes down to the same sorts of things most of the time. It's adding security to companies that don't already have it because it's a small business that doesn't know any better, and they meet me and I tell them, hey, this is what you can do, and hey, it's a lot cheaper than you might think, and it's not going to disrupt you too much, and hey, great, we're all better now. But I did get a client recently that is rather unique. They're a cabinetry company.
Okay.
And they have some really old computers that go along, that are built into their the machines that actually make cabinetry. So like a giant saw, and the automation of that saw is still running on a Windows XP machine.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like DOS.
Not quite that old, but it's Windows XP, and it's even Service Pack 2 and not Service Pack 3, and it's the hard drive on that computer is, I swear to God, only 50 gigabytes. This thing is old, but it still has to work, because replacing it isn't just replacing the computer, it's replacing the entire machine.
Piece of equipment.
So it's like tens of thousands of dollars. So it was really fun to go in and be able to go and use the expertise from 10 years ago on how
That's actually really
how
cool.
to do this stuff. Because if you weren't around then you don't know all the little bits and pieces that you needed to know to be able to make this stuff work the way that they need it to work. Because they've got computers that are all the way up to Windows 10, Windows 11 in their back office. They need to be able to communicate back to those Windows XP machines, and I was able to help them get that working again. So that was fun.
That is really cool. I could actually still
Going super old school.
I learned how to use a computer on DOS. Before there was even.
Oh, same here.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Before there was even
I
Windows.
played games on
Wow,
DOS that were
yes.
ASCII games.
Me too.
When I was 5 years old on my little computer in our basement.
I remember remember the one that was like a little stick figure. They'd go back and forth. You'd bounce a ball back and forth.
Okay.
That was like one of my favorites. But anyway, so okay. So the security and so do you think with AI you were talking about it's just going to help you do your job a little bit faster?
Faster or better. Being able to
Can
look things up.
You said you can troubleshoot with it?
To an extent, yes. One of the things they brought up on that WAN show is specifically about AI being able to take over the tasks of other businesses, like being able to take over level 1 support desks.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it can look up the instructions on how to do basic troubleshooting for whatever, like your Wi-Fi or your mic isn't working, or all the things that every now and then I'll need to go look it up real quick and do the steps in case the steps that I know by heart don't work.
But can it do it? Do you think it'll ever be able to do what you do?
It won't go in and actually do it.
Okay.
It can help somebody else do it. It can teach them how to do it, but at the same time, it can only do it. It'll only be able to do it from a general standpoint.
Yeah.
It can't, because the person that is, making use of ChatGPT doesn't have the background, doesn't know enough about how their computer works. They can't give the prompts that ChatGPT needs in order to get the more specific answer.
Can you automate it to do stuff like update a blog on a website?
I don't think ChatGPT specifically can do that right now. It might have a plugin that allows it to do that, but it's one of those things where a third-party company will create something like that, where it uses ChatGPT and APIs to check with ChatGPT what should be done, and then ChatGPT responds with what should be done, and then their program goes out and actually does
automate it.
Yeah, because as we were talking about before is like, when I always say things as basic they are. In order to keep your website, up on the search engine sheet there, making changes to your website is one of the biggest things you can do, right? Because that's so if you have the AI set up to make daily changes, then you're always going to be in in the beginning, but then everybody's going to be doing that.
Right.
Right. And so as a result, the algorithm is going to have to change and not use that as much. And eventually it will, I'm sure, for exactly those kinds of reasons. That's essentially just scripting, and ChatGPT can make scripting a lot more powerful. But at the end of the day, it's just scripting.
It's all absolutely fascinating. But like I said, I think as far as business goes, I love the fact that it will give me idea starters. It's going to help me. Eventually, it's going to help me make a Smurrito family meal plan.
She's looking to do that as soon as she gets home today.
Because it's like I have a meal plan, but I don't ever budget it out with money. But if I would say I can't spend more than $350, and then it will say, okay, well, you're eating pretty much,
I hope you like ramen.
Right? So I know that you've been on the show before, and I know that we're in our very last segment here. But go ahead and list out all of the things that Forge IT Consulting does.
Okay, so that's a long list. So I'll be a little bit more generalized. So I work on networks, which includes firewalls, switching, Wi-Fi, internet connections, anything having to do with that. I work on individual computers. I work on servers. I help find cloud services and applications that a business might need for them to be able to do what they need to do. I can do that kind of research for them, and then I can help secure all of it.
Okay,
and back it all up.
You spend a lot of your time on security.
I find that security is the thing that companies know the least about and have the least infrastructure already in place. So that's the thing that I talk about first, especially since it's one of those things that it's just not being thought about. But at the end of the day, after that gets set up, mostly it's going to be stuff that's just, hey, this thing doesn't work anymore, or something broke, or my printer doesn't work, because
that would be me.
Printers never work.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and that's just the thing.
Yeah, well, I would have never figured out why my printer didn't work, but
they're made by the same people who do the shake machines at McDonald's.
Yeah, I'm convinced.
Printers and
absolutely
shake machines. Yeah.
Well, my printer has worked nonstop.
That's good.
And my shirt here is proof of that, because I did print this.
Did you?
Yes.
On your printer at home.
On my printer at home.
Wow, didn't know that was a thing.
Neither.
And I ironed it on.
You
Nice.
did such a good job.
And I mean, that's what I said. I was like,
Yeah.
Angela's mind said that Angela wants
We're
a new,
making it.
I'm making a BaaD radio shirt. There was
Cute. I love
nothing
that.
in the world that
So
was going to
funny.
stop me from making that shirt.
And nothing did.
But the printer would have stopped me. If the printer didn't work, I would have been like, I would have just had to like not get a new
I mean,
shirt.
it's just really basic stuff like that.
That
I
would
mean,
have been so funny.
there's also, clients that are like, oh, okay, I have to let go a person. That's happened a few times recently.
Ooh, you can ask ChatGPT to let somebody else.
But the biggest thing to do anytime you're letting somebody go is let your IT person know before you need to let them
that's
go.
smart.
Because there's a lot of stuff that you want to do to keep your business secure in the
Right.
event that you're letting somebody go, that if you let your IT person know first, they can take care of it ahead of time or on time without it being, left out there.
No, that's very good advice. So we're like wrapping up the show. I can't even believe it. That was a super fun show. I really had a good time. So like I said, we listed off the things that you do. And so what are some of the things that you're looking for, like as far as referrals go?
I would love to be referred to additional law firms. I think law firms.
Any law firms in general? It doesn't matter what.
You know what?
What
No,
branch?
it doesn't really matter. I wouldn't say that. No, I don't have a particular one in mind. No.
Okay.
I enjoyed working with them because my wife's a lawyer, and so I get a lot of what goes on in a law firm already just by listening to her.
All right. Real quick, what's your contact information?
So you can reach me at 407-318-2671 or at forgeitconsulting.com. That's FORGEIT consulting.com.
And Melissa?
All right, and Striking Brand on all social media platforms.
And I am Angela with BaaD Radio. That's Angela at BAAD Radio. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful week.
Good times. We'll check them again later. Go to BaaDradio.com if you want to network with the ladies. We'll see you next time.
We did good on time because she was able to say something at the end. That was a fun show.
Oh, she figured that out. That's how I do. Yeah, if I can talk more. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time. We'll get rid of that anyway. Yes.
Must be just my ear is different on this side.
I know. Sometimes.
Sure what that meant.
Like that's why I had to take that headband off because having the glasses and the headband and the headphones was making
Yeah,
my
the glasses
head hurt.
definitely is part of it.
For sure. Well, thank you, John. And so tell me where you left off with progress. So that I can.
So I went out there.
What the fuck happened now?